Part 26. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 251. Chapter 251, 251, Blood Purification. Where is your father? Shen Yun asked the fat baby in his arms. You wait, I'll pat him. Xiao Banqi slipped out of Chen Yun's arms, walked to the five-clawed golden dragon statue, and patted the dragon directly with his fleshy little hands. Shen Yun clearly saw the whole statue shaking and almost falling over. Sure enough, as soon as he slapped the palm, a shadow appeared above the statue. It was exactly like the giant dragon in myths and legends. The scales on its body shone with golden light. Although it was just a ray of spiritual consciousness, the momentum of its body still made people feel a bit stressed. The moment he appeared, he only glanced at Shen Yun, and then turned to Xiao Banqi next to him, with a little helplessness in his eyes. Are you Shen Yun? Jin Long's misty voice sounded. Yes, Senior. Shen Yun nodded. It's all thanks to you that my little boy was hatched. Don't worry about the contract. This is a contract unique to the Phoenix clan. I know what's going on. Jin Long was very open-minded and said straight to the point. Hearing what the other party said, Chen Yun's worries were relieved. Since he was not asked to come here to terminate the contract, why did he ask himself to come in? It was clearly stated in the inheritance that after such blood purification, the other party's spiritual consciousness would be left behind. It will disappear. What is happening now? I don't know why you came to me, Senior, Shen Yun said politely. It's like this. The lifespan of the Phoenix clan can be said to be very long, and the lifespan of a human being is only 20,000 years even if you practice to the Mahayana stage. And you and my son have made an equal contract. If your lifespan is too long, it still has an impact on him, Jin Long said slowly. What's the impact? Is it just that I will live tens of thousands of years less? What does it matter? The little Banqi on the side has not yet realized the benefits of a long life. Although he has inherited it, his thinking is still the same as when he was a child. Jin Long glanced helplessly at Xiao Banqi next to him. You are still young and don't understand many things. You are the only one of the Phoenix clan in this world, so your mission is very important. The inheritance of the Phoenix clan is very difficult. This is your business. I'm still so young, is it appropriate for you to tell me this? Besides, I'm the only one, how can I pass on the inheritance? Don't think that I don't know things when I'm young. Xiao Bengjiao rolled his eyes and didn't take this matter to heart at all. Anyway, there are still thousands or hundreds of years before he reaches adulthood, so why do he want to think about so many things? You don't want to think so much. I want to help you think about it. It is very difficult for human beings to cultivate to the Mahayana stage. Most of them are directly stuck in the process of cultivation, or die due to danger. This will have a great impact on you. If you signed a master-servant contract with her, it would have no impact on you at all, Jin Long said to Xiao Banqi seriously. Chen Yun was a little embarrassed while listening. Aren't you afraid that discussing this matter in front of you will cast a psychological shadow on yourself? This will make your cultivation even more difficult. There is also a master-servant contract. I don't think so. It's a bit inappropriate for you to talk about this with your child now. Jin Long didn't care what Shen Yun thought. His strength determined that he wouldn't care too much about the thoughts of weak people except his own children. After talking to Xiao Bank, his eyes turned to Shen Yun again. But don't have any psychological burden. I will help you go on this road more smoothly and extend your lifespan as much as possible. After Jin Long finished speaking, before Shen Yun could react, a burst of mysterious light emerged from the eyes, shot out and directly enveloped Shen Yun. The last moment Shen Yun was conscious was the scene of Xiao Bengjiao taking a picture towards the five-clawed golden dragon statue. It's not like I've been taking care of him for so long in vain. What on earth did you do to her? Xiao Bengqian saw Shi Yun falling, slapped her on the ground, and asked angrily. Don't worry, nothing will happen to you. You have inherited your mother's bloodline. It seems that the things I originally prepared to give you are no longer of use. Knowing that you have a good relationship with this human being, I will give this thing to you now. So that she can take good care of you in this world. The phoenix is still very fragile in its infancy, so I will find you a guardian as a father. The five-clawed golden dragon felt the gentle caress of the little jumper and explained patiently. Then it's agreed, you're not allowed to hurt her, Xiao Bengqian emphasized. Maybe, you yourself have gone through blood purification, and you know what it feels like. Although your friend's ancestor has a trace of dragon blood, it has been diluted for thousands of years and is now very small. Now use the blood I left for blood purification. It will definitely be a painful experience, Jin Long said carefully. Xiao Bengqian thought about what she had just experienced, and her little body couldn't help but sway a little. Do we have to let her go through this? Of course, if you want to become stronger, you have to endure some hardships. Jin Long nodded, then ignored Xiao Bengqian and turned directly to look at Shen Yun, who fell to the ground. Now I have to purify your blood. It will be very painful next. It's up to you. After Jin Long finished speaking, Shen Yun didn't react and started casting the spell directly. Shen Yun vaguely heard something about blood purification and pain. Before he woke up, he saw a drop of golden liquid flying directly from the mouth of the golden dragon statue, and then directly entered his body. In an instant, it was like a drop of boiling water entered his body, causing the blood all over his body to boil. First his skin, then his bones, and finally his internal organs. Shen Yun felt pain. It hurt so much that I didn't know whether I was awake or unconscious. I couldn't even feel the pain clearly. I tried to use my spiritual energy to see if it could stop the pain, but it turned out that I couldn't concentrate because of the pain. Xiao Bengta watched as the golden liquid entered Shen Yun's body. She rolled in pain instantly, and her clothes were immediately stained red by the blood. It wasn't like this when I was purifying my bloodline. Xiao Bengqian anxiously climbed up to the statue and asked the golden dragon. You are of the bloodline of the phoenix and the golden dragon, and the phoenix bloodline has the upper hand. If you want to preserve your bloodline, you only need to remove the golden dragon bloodline. Of course, it won't be so painful if I'm here to help you. Then you should help her too. My consciousness is already very weak, and I can only pass this level by myself. If you want to go out in the future, you must protect your own safety, and the spiritual beasts and monsters in Fenjiao are not allowed to be taken out. They were not born in this world. If they leave this light curtain, they will be killed by the heaven here. It would do them no good to come to their door. Other things are all in the inheritance, and Dad won't talk to you too much. You wait until Dad solves the world's problems and then come and take you back. Before the sound of the five-clawed golden dragon disappeared, the shadow in mid-air disappeared. Little Bengqian had no time to react, looked at the empty air and shouted blankly, Daddy. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 252. Chapter 252, 252, Feng Aotian, Feng Jinlong. There was no response. There was only the painful sound of Shen Yun below. Xiao Bengqian seemed to not believe it. He patted the statue under him gently with his little hand, but still there was no reaction. The little mouth pouted, and the big eyes quickly filled with tears. Like a string of pearls, they slipped down one after another, and said with a cry, Daddy is a bad guy. Little Bengqian felt the feeling of separation for the first time, but no one comforted him. Shen Yun is going through her own difficulties at the moment. She feels that her consciousness and body have been painfully separated, and the flesh and blood in her body are constantly dying and reborn. Gradually becoming stronger and stronger. I don't know how long it took, but Shen Yun felt the pain gradually go away from him, and his consciousness returned to his body again. At this moment without pain, it's like I have changed my body. I feel better than ever. Slowly opening his eyes, he saw the statue of a golden dragon above his head. I was obviously quite far away. How could I have come here? When I sat up, I saw that the original color of the clothes on my body was no longer visible, and a fishy smell rushed straight to my forehead. Shen Yun's hand covering his nose stopped halfway up. His hand was covered with a thick layer of black and red mud, and his original appearance was no longer visible. There was no time to think about anything else. I threw away a few cleaning techniques. The unpleasant smell gradually dissipated. Shen Yun's hands also came back. They looked whiter and tenderer than before, and his hands seemed to turn red just by pinching something. But only Shen Yun knew that after experiencing the pain before, he could crush a piece of iron with his hands without any scratches. Feeling his own cultivation level again, he had already reached the middle stage of the golden elixir, and his whole body seemed to have endless strength. Shen Yun knew that even if he no longer practiced body refining techniques in the future, his body's strength would be difficult for ordinary people to match. After all, the blood flowing in his body now is dragon blood. After tidying up his tattered clothes, Shen Yun stood up directly. The golden dragon in the void had disappeared. Knowing in a daze that he had left here, Shen Yun directly started to look for the figure of Xiao Benqi. Although he was very cultivated now. But thinking about its current image, Shen Yun felt very uneasy. Little Benqi, little Benqi. Shen Yun called several times inside the bamboo building, but there was no response. Out of the bamboo building, from a distance, I saw the little Pengju lying soundly in the phoenix nest on the sycamore tree, sleeping soundly. Shen Yun was relieved. Xiao Benqi was fine, and Shen Yun also entered the space to change his clothes. "How are you?" As soon as he came out of the space, he saw the tearful little Benqi looking at him. Shen Yun immediately softened his heart. He had raised this from an egg, so it was not easy. "It's okay, you see I'm fine." Shen Yun walked over directly. "That's good. Sure enough, Daddy didn't lie to me, but you have been asleep for a long time." "What should we do now?" Xiao Benqi said happily. "Can we go out now?" Shen Yun asked. "Yes, why don't you go out now and play? I don't want to stay in the space anymore." Little Benqi spoke with a crisp voice, like a little bird. "By the way, the spiritual beasts outside have not been dealt with yet," Shen Yun reminded. "Then you wait for me here, I'll go over and tell them." Little Benqiao flew out like a little adult. Shen Yun stood under the sycamore tree and waited. Xiao Benqi had now successfully inherited Fenjiao and was connected to this place. No matter how far away from here in the future, it would be just a thought to return here. So Shen Yun has no intention of touching the things here. These are all left to him by his parents, which can be regarded as a thought. After a while, Xiao Benqiao came back and said, "It's taken care of. I'll let them live as they did before. Anyway, I don't need anyone to accompany me." "Okay, let's go." Shen Yun did not comment on this method. As soon as Xiao Bengbao had a thought, Shen Yun, and he appeared outside the light curtain. When he turned around, he saw that the people sitting next to the light curtain were all people, but they were all practicing. They would sense the sudden aura, and everyone he opened his eyes and looked over. The aura on Xiao Benqi's body was gone. Those people took one look and immediately did not dare to look. "Let's go, I've wanted to come out and take a look for a long time." Xiao Benqi held Shen Yun's hand. "Okay." Shen Yun nodded. He didn't know how long he had been in there. At that time, he left the third brother and the fourth brother and came over. He didn't know what happened now. The two people gradually walked away through the dense crowd, and the light curtain behind them slowly faded. The crowd immediately became confused. After finally encountering a place with strong spiritual energy, it suddenly disappeared. Shen Yun turned his head and took a look when he heard the sound, and found that the light curtain had disappeared, but the aura in the air had not disappeared. The crowd there panicked and calmed down. Looking at the forest that had returned to its original state, they tentatively walked forward. Go away. Little Benki, Fenjiao, have you put it away? Shen Yun asked in a low voice. Put it away. It's all mine. How can I put it outside for others to see, said the little Benki, tilting his head. Shen Yun looked at his cute look and nodded with a smile. Even after blood purification, he still protected his things as before, but after you put your things away, the aura is still leaking out. It's okay, we don't care about this. By the way, I gave myself a name, Fen Aotian. What do you think? Xiao Bengkie looked at Shen Yun and said. Shen Yun was stunned for a moment and looked at the other persons and white eyes. Why does this name sound so awkward? Why don't you think about it again? Okay, let's call it Feng Jinlong, Xiao Bengkie said, and felt that this name was better than the previous one. Shen Yun was incompetent in naming him, but he didn't expect that he might as well give in to the one he raised. As long as you like it, Shen Yun said helplessly. By the way, when you walk outside from now on, you can call me sister, and you are the child of a distant relative. This is more convenient, otherwise people will doubt your origins. Let me tell you, never reveal to others that you are a phoenix. There are many bad people out there who dare to capture even people. If they knew you were a mythical beast, they would definitely capture you and put you in a cage. For the sake of safety, Shen Yun didn't mind scaring the little jumper. I will run away if there are bad people, Xiao Bengkie said nonchalantly. You can't guess what the bad guys do. They might give you delicious food and knock you out so that you can't even run away. Chen Yun racked his brains and thought about all the methods he had heard of kidnapping and trafficking children. Tell it to Xiao Bengkie. Although Xiao Bengkie has lived in this world for more than a year, he was still stunned by Chen Yun's words. He firmly promised not to tell others that he was a phoenix. Shen Yun thought this was a precautionary measure. Human greed prevented her from making this bet, so it was still necessary to vaccinate little Bengkie in advance. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 253. Chapter 253, 253, disappeared for more than a year. Yunyun, is it you, Yunyun? Shen Yun was explaining things to Xiao Beng when he heard someone calling him. Looking up, he saw a haggard man with a beard standing not far away, looking at him in surprise. Shen Yun took a closer look and realized it was Shen Hung. Feel the temperature and scenery outside? I have been here for more than a month at most, and why am I so haggard? I told them to wait for me in the capital, but why did I come here? Shen Yun thought to himself that he would not stop himself from walking that way. Fourth brother, why are you here? Where have you been for more than a year? Do you know that we are all crazy about you? Shen Hung didn't have time to answer Shen Yun's question. He took Shen Yun's arm and looked up and down. He saw that Shen Yun was fine. He was fine. He breathed a sigh of relief. You said more than a year. I disappeared for more than a year, Shen Yun asked in surprise. She originally thought that she could only go in for a few dozen days, but she didn't know that it had been more than a year. She looked around blankly and saw in Feng there is no feeling of time passing in the domain, and with the blood purification and my unconsciousness, I really don't know that so long has passed. Since you left that time, you haven't come back. We have been looking for you. Minister Yan also mobilized people to look for you. At first, the third brother and I hid it from the family, but then we had no choice but to disappear you. I told my third uncle what happened, and my father and second uncle were the only ones left in the house with their grandparents, a few people who couldn't practice, and a few younger ones. The rest of the people came out to look for you. Do you know that this we have been so anxious for a year, we thought you. Shen Hong couldn't help but shed tears as he spoke. There was no news at all this year, and they were desperate, thinking that something unexpected had happened to Shen Yun. I didn't expect to see anyone here today, he was almost incoherent. I'm sorry, I don't know. Shen Yun moved his mouth and didn't know what to say. He really didn't know that such a situation would happen. Entering Fengjia was something he didn't expect. It's okay, don't be sorry, as long as you are well, let's go back quickly. Your family will be looking for you outside right now. We have agreed to go back once a week, so let's go quickly. Shen Hong couldn't help but want to hurry up. Share this good news with your family. Then let's go. Hey, wait for me. Xiao Banqi saw Shen Yun holding the sword and was about to fly, so he quickly called out from behind. He was not yet proficient in using his feet and walked a little slowly. Shen Yun turned around suddenly and walked over in a hurry. Little Beng Kie was still there. I'm sorry. Shen Yun walked over apologetically and hugged little Beng Kie. It's okay, Xiao Banqi said generously. Yun Yun, what's going on? Who bullied you? Shen Hong was breathing heavily as he spoke. He couldn't help but think about it. After being missing for more than a year, he shouldn't have given birth to a child. What kind of bullied his sister? With this thought, he looked around and saw no one with Shen Yun. His face suddenly became even more disgusting. He was not irresponsible for bullying Yun Yun. Shen Hong could already think of how difficult it had been for Shen Yun for more than a year. A person is hiding with his child. If he hadn't met Yun Yun today, he might not be able to see Yun Yun anytime soon. Now he is not angry with Yun Yun, but wants to pull out the person who bullied her and give her a beating. Pause. No one bullied me. Shen Yun was a little confused. He looked like he was being bullied. He was neatly dressed and there was nothing inappropriate about him. Shen Hong suppressed the anger in his heart and asked restrainedly, then what happened to this child? Hello, I'm Feng Jin. Long before Shen Yun could speak, Xiao Banqi, who was introducing himself to others for the first time, couldn't help but speak. Shen Hong wanted to be angry, but looking at the child's cute appearance, he couldn't express his anger towards the child. That man is Feng, right? Don't hide it, I already know it, just tell me, when I see him, I will definitely beat him up. It doesn't matter if you have a child. With so many people in our family, we can still raise one child. Shen Yun was really dumbfounded when he couldn't hear the resentment in these words. He laughed helplessly, then put his face in front of the little jumper. Brother, look at it, do I look like him? Who wouldn't be angry to have a child who doesn't look like me anymore? Shen Hong was really confused by the series of things. Shen Yun made it so obvious, but he still didn't react. Third brother, this is not my child, and I have not been bullied by anyone. This is a child from an elder's family. Come out with me to see things. Isn't he a little kid? Call me sister. Shen Yun explained with a smile, this mistakenly done. However, Xiao Banqi looks more than a year old, and he has been missing for more than a year, which really makes people think a little. Sister Xiao Banqi was very well behaved this time. He also knew that Shen Hong had made a mistake and couldn't help but giggle. Is it really not your child? Shen Hong's mind became clearer. His eyes looked back and forth between Shen Yun and Xiao Banqi. Apart from their white skin, there was really nothing similar about them, and his mood suddenly improved a lot. Of course, brother, don't think about it. Who can bully me? I've been away for more than a year, and I can't come out of that place. That's why I was delayed. I thought I was only out for 10 days, but I didn't know it was like this. It's been a long time, let's go home quickly, don't delay here, my family will probably miss me. Shen Yun quickly changed the topic. That's good. Your friend's kid is really handsome. He doesn't look like someone from our family. Shen Hong was in a good mood and had time to take a good look at the little Banqi. Everything he looked at was pleasing to his eye. Shen Yun laughed and said, "Let's go." He pulled Shen Hong directly onto the sword, and it immediately turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the forest. People in the distance only saw a stream of light disappearing away. "Hurry up and inform the boss that there is a situation. There are special departments and supervisors here to maintain order. Now that we see such a situation, the special departments are required to report it according to the rules." Shen Yun and the three of them here quickly landed directly in the small courtyard of their home in Beijing. It was quiet in the small courtyard, no one was there. "They've all gone out, those who are close will come back, and those who are far away will come back once a week," Shen Hong explained. "Is there any contact method to call everyone back?" Shen Yun asked. "You wait, my family has a BB phone for easy communication. I will go out and make contact," Shen Hong said quickly. "Wait a minute, I have a phone." Shen Yun stopped Shen Hong, who was about to leave, and took out his mobile phone, only to find that a year had passed and there was no power. "I'll go out and do it." Shen Hong saw that the things couldn't be used, so he ran outside without wasting time. Shen Yun looked at the phone in his hand and put it aside. This contact was too inconvenient. It seemed that he had to give the communication talisman to his family. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 254. Chapter 254, 254, Don't let other people's children come back if they are locked up. Shen Hong didn't take long to get things done. Everyone has been notified. Those who are close will be back in a while. Those who are far away know that you are safe, so there is no need to worry about coming back, Shen Hong and Shen Yun explained. "That's good. How are you at home?" "Nothing happened this year, right?" Shen Yun asked with concern. "The family is pretty stable, but my grandparents seem to have noticed something is wrong. They have been very worried about staying at home this year. I used to be in good health, but now I don't look so good." Shen Hong didn't hide it. "Then let's go back to our hometown to see our grandparents now." Shen Yun's heart moved. The old couple were probably worried about themselves. They didn't know how to be anxious at home when they didn't see anyone. "Okay, I'll leave a note at home." Shen Hong thought for a while and decided immediately. It had been more than a year and Shen Jian hadn't woken up yet, so he might as well let Shen Yun go back and check on his condition. They left as soon as they could, leaving a note, and the three of them set off. Shan Han, who had not gotten through the call, went outside the door and saw someone leaving again. He was in vain, but the person was fine and there was plenty of time to wait until he came back. Thinking of this, Yan Han felt that the obstacle he had never overcome dissipated, and then he felt spiritual energy rushing directly towards him. "Help me protect the law," Yan Han quickly called Su Lei next to him. Okay, Su Lei also knew what Yan Han was going through. He had also met several people who were building foundations this year. Originally, the boss's cultivation was the most powerful, but he had not been able to build foundations for a long time. Unexpectedly, now that the time was up, he couldn't help but be happy about the cold. Severe cold's upgrade can be said to have come naturally and has been accumulated for a long time. After the foundation was established, it was directly promoted to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and the crazy influx of spiritual energy from outside stopped. "Congratulations, Boss," Su Lei said with a smile when he saw Yan Han successfully building the foundation so quickly. "Thank you," Yan Han said with a smile. If he couldn't wait any longer, he wouldn't have built the foundation directly outside. Thanks to him for protecting himself. "What's the matter? Should we go back now or wait here?" Su Lei asked more. "Go back. From the looks of it, he probably went out. If I guessed correctly, he probably went back to his hometown. There are elderly people at home." Yan Han knew very well about Shen Yun's family situation. Many people have disappeared this year. He wasn't necessarily anxious yet, but he could understand it now. Okay, Shen Yun should go directly to the headquarters when he comes back. Su Lei has dealt with Shen Yun several times and knows that she is not an unreliable person. This disappearance must be a special situation, otherwise she will not let go of the supervision she just received. The reporter left work without saying hello. Chen Yun was moving at full speed here. It didn't take long before he arrived at Byun-kun. The originally ordinary small mountain village was different from before after this year's cultivation of spiritual energy. Occasionally, one or two vintage stars could be seen in the mountains and forest's low spiritual plant. As for the two courtyards of my home, I have my own spiritual gathering arrays, and the plants in them are growing luxuriantly. The three people stopped directly outside the yard of the old house. The door to the small courtyard was ajar, and it was quiet inside, no longer as lively as before. Shen Yun walked inside with Xiao Benqi and Shen Hung in his arms. Grandpa and Grandma, look who's back. There was no contact machine in my hometown, and Shen Yun and the others didn't notify their family when they came back, but Shen Hung started calling for people as soon as he entered the door. Who is it? The door to the room where grandparents lived was not opened, but the door to the room where Shen Jian lived opened. As expected, it was the second aunt who came out. Second aunt, take a look, Shen Hung said happily. Shen Hung pointed like this, and Lu Xiaofen noticed Shen Yun holding the child behind him. He was stunned for a moment, then a smile immediately appeared on his face. Yun Yun is back, Yun Yun is back. First he exclaimed, then raised his pitch. The sound spread rapidly throughout the courtyard. Several people who were working in the backyard heard the sound and ran forward in a panic without putting down their things. Shen Yun saw the trembling movements of Mr. Yang Xiaoko and his wife, and quickly put down his little jumper to greet them. Grandpa and Grandma, don't worry, I'm back. Shen Yun held one hand up. The two old men also grabbed Shen Yun's hand. Child, where have you been this year? Are you okay? Yang Xiaoko couldn't help crying as she held Shen Yun's hand. Grandpa and Grandma, I'm fine. This year I accidentally arrived in a secret realm. I didn't expect to stay for such a long time. I'm fine. I just can't notify people outside, Shen Yun quickly explained. Why is the secret realm so unreasonable? The children are locked up and not allowed back. Yang Xiaoko was a little angry. Okay, isn't the child back safely now? Let the child rest quickly. He will probably rush home as soon as he comes out. Although Shen Kuliang also held Shen Yun's hand, he didn't say anything and just listened patiently. Then, I felt much better when I heard that the child really didn't come back for a reason. He had heard a lot of gossip this year. People in the village were muttering that his granddaughter in the city couldn't get used to the life of a poor person and didn't plan to come back. He went out to explain himself, but many people still thought that he was for the sake of face. He still muttered behind his back. The longer time went by, the more people said this, and he didn't like to go out anymore. Now he knew that Shen Yun had something to do, so he couldn't come back. After all, he felt a lot relieved. I'm sorry for making everyone worried. I will be careful outside in the future to avoid this happening again, Shen Yun quickly assured him. Hey, we are old and don't understand this matter. We have learned a lot of information in the past year or so. We know that this kind of thing often happens after cultivating immortals. After all, you enter samadhi somewhere while cultivating. It will take 10 days and a half, Shen Kuliang said slowly. We are mentally prepared for this kind of thing. It sounded like he was thinking more openly, but Shen Yun took a look and saw that the two old men's cultivation had not improved at all in more than a year. Instead, they looked like they were still a bit regressed, so he knew that they must be worried. Don't worry, I'm very strong now, and no one will hurt me easily. Let's do this. I'll get a natal jade tablet and put it at home. This way, even if we get into some secret realm in the future and can't get out, you don't have to worry too much. Too worried, Shen Yun thought about the natal jade tablet in the weapon refining book. He used to think that there was no need to get this thing, but now seeing how anxious his family is, getting this thing would be a comfort to his family. Okay, let's get one for everyone in the family. The world is different now. Seeing you go out every day makes us all worried. The uncle was the first to respond to this decision. Shen Yun decided to do this after everyone in his family saw it. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 255. Chapter 255, 255, Gathering. It would be nice to come back anyway, my family can no longer bear such a thing, Lu Xiaofeng said while wiping her tears. How is Shen Jian's condition? I made an appointment with the medical experts in Beijing to take Shen Jian over for a checkup. Who knew this delay would take so long? Shen Yun looked at Erbo Shen aside. Them. The two of them seemed to be in good spirits. Shen Jian is still the same, but I can occasionally feel his fingers moving, but he hasn't woken up. I don't know if I can go to the doctor now. Hearing what Shen Yun said, the second uncle was excited, but after thinking about it, the time was agreed upon a year ago, but now I don't know if it will work. Don't be anxious. I'm going to check on Shen Jian's condition first. When I get back to Beijing, I'll ask the doctors if they have time. Shen Yun comforted everyone, and didn't bother to rest. Walking towards Shen Jian's room, the whole family followed and watched. Shen Jian's condition is not bad. His family is taking good care of him, and he is indeed getting better. The injuries in his brain are basically healed after being nourished by elixirs, spiritual energy, and lotus seeds. He needs an opportunity to wake up. It seems that there is no need to wait until his nascent soul stage to refine the elixir. Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Not bad, you took good care of it. Shen Yun checked it carefully and said. That's good, that's good. Both the second aunt and the second uncle breathed a sigh of relief. The family members have been away from home for more than a year, so the two of them took care of them. The old man and the old lady came over to nourish Shen Jian's spiritual energy. They usually only care about the children. His aunt came over to check on Shen Jian's condition. Now that she had Shen Yun's words, the burden she was carrying was finally relieved. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with Shen Jian, everyone asked Shen Yun a lot of questions. Shen Yun introduced Xiao Benqi to everyone again. Everyone knew that it was Xiao Benqi who rescued Shen Yun, and they were immediately grateful. Although Xiao Benqi looked at the little one, but Shen Yun said so, no one don't believe it. I didn't care about anything else for a moment, so I got up and took out the food at home to feed the little Benqi. Although the little Benqi is picky about food, she can still eat a little human food. Grandpa, Grandma, and fourth brother have already communicated with my parents. They know that I am back, and they are probably rushing to Beijing. I will go back first, and then come back to see you after the things over there are finished. I will pick you up to live in Beijing. Then Shen Yun stayed at home for a day and was ready to leave. I have disappeared for more than a year, and there are still many things that have not been dealt with. When I return, I have to go to the special department and contact the supervisor to see if my job has been suspended or what to do. Although my job has been, it's no longer a necessity, but you still have to complete your work if you want to do your job in your position. Go, we're not going anywhere, we're just staying at home, and you can come back and see us when you are free. Shen Quiliang waved his hand and did not force Shen Yun to stay. As long as you see people come back safely, nothing else matters. The three people rushed to the capital city again under the cover of night. The small courtyard was no longer as deserted as when they left. As soon as the three people landed in the courtyard, the people waiting at home knew about it. The first person to rush out was Yang Can. She didn't say anything and directly hugged Shen Yun into her arms. Feeling the wetness on his clothes, Shen Yun silently reached out and hugged him back. Mom, look, am I okay? It's all my fault. I didn't expect to be trapped for so long, but that's right. It's a blessing in disguise, and now my strength has reached a higher level. It's not your fault, just come back safely. Yang Kankan didn't say a word of blame. After hugging her for a while, Yang Kankan wiped away her tears and let go of her hand. Shen Yun turned around and took a look at the people around him. None of them were any better than Shen Hung. He was probably busy looking for people every day, and he didn't care about his personal image. Thank you all for never giving up and looking for me no matter what. Thank you, Shen Yun said sincerely. We are all a family. What are you talking about? You taught us what we are today. We have been busy for more than a year, but we have not been able to help. Shen Chen smiled and patted Shen Yun on the shoulder. Yeah, just come back well. I don't know how to be happy when my third uncle comes back in 2 days, the people next to him echoed. Everyone was concerned about Shen Yun's condition, but did not delve into where Shen Yun had gone. After searching for more than a year, he finally came back, and they were all tired. Shen Yun introduced Xiao Benqi to everyone, and then urged everyone to clean up after him. After finishing packing, we had no energy to do anything else. We agreed to wait until everyone came back to celebrate again, and then everyone went to rest. Early the next morning, Shen Yun said hello to his family and went directly to the special department. As for the little Benqi, there was someone playing with him now. He was fresh and didn't want to go out with Shen Yun at all. Early in the morning, people from the special department were already coming and going. It was estimated that there would be more things to take care of this year. Shen Yun saw that there were many more people than before. The doorman is still the old man from before. Is Minister Yan here? Shen Yun asked as always. Oh, you girl is back, but I haven't seen you for a long time. Yan Han is here, and the office is still in the same place. The old man looked at Shen Yun and said with a smile. Yes, I'm back. How are you? Shen Yun said with a smile. Okay, let's go and get down to business. The old man smiled and waved his hand. Shen Yun didn't stay at the door longer and walked directly inside. It has changed a lot in more than a year. Because the number of people has increased, many places have been converted into buildings. Shen Yun walked towards the location of the former cold office. This place is still the same as before. As soon as I knocked on the door, it opened and there were several people sitting in a room. You're back, how are you? Several people stood up when they saw Shen Yun. It's okay. It's just that I was stuck in that place and wasted a little time, and my work was also delayed. Sorry. Sitting inside was Yan Han and several other supervisors. He had been missing for more than a year, so they probably had to clean up the mess. It will be good if he comes back safely. Several people did not say anything to blame. Nothing happened this year. I disappeared for such a long time and couldn't do my job. This is the complete collection of spiritual plants I promised a year ago. Now I'm here to fulfill it. Shen Yun didn't say anything and just handed over the jade plant. Jane took it out and put it on the table. The eyes of several people immediately moved to the table. This was the first time they had seen the jade slip. It looked no different from the jade plaque, but the jade quality felt particularly good. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 256. Chapter 256, 256, Concealing Experience. Don't say you're not doing anything about work. I've reserved the position for you, and we're still hoping for a strong victory, Zhang Min said with a smile. You guys are not bad at it. It seems that you have successfully built the foundation, so don't make fun of me, Shen Yun said politely. This is not only our intention, but also the intention of the people above. You have done so many things. It is impossible to deny those things you have done just because of this year. Besides, The contents of this jade slip are immeasurable. This we have done a year's work for you, so don't be lazy when you come back, the older Sukyuaking said with a smile. That's right, it's impossible not to work, Jongmin also said. I will arrange for someone to make the jade slips, but we can't let everyone see it as we thought before. Now the outside forces are eyeing us. Once the information inside is spread, it will probably attract a large number of people. For spying on our country, Yan Han put the jade slip away directly. Several people here are aware of the confidentiality agreement, but they didn't ask to watch it. It's up to you to arrange this, but let me tell you in advance that I will teach this to my family, because one of my brothers is learning alchemy with me, and this is something that must be learned. Shen Yun said it first, so as not to worry about it later. Trouble arises. Several people looked at each other. I will report this matter to the superiors, Yan Han said helplessly. After all, this is Shen Yun's own thing, and he can't say that she won't be allowed to teach her family members. And this thing is said to be confidential, but it cannot be completely confidential. After all, the country itself also needs Lingzi's information. If more people know about it, they will definitely let it out a little bit. I wonder if Chen Yun, your family is short of a brother who can cultivate, earn money and be handsome. Jongmin watched everyone finish their words, smiled and walked towards Shen Yun and said. Several other people were speechless when they saw Jongmin's shameless look. Among them, Liang Shan was the most angry. He was obviously the first one to come up with this idea. Why didn't he say anything yet? Jongmin just jumped on it. How old are you? You are only 1 or 2 years older than Shen Yun. You still want to be his brother. Are you reliable? Which one of us is not more suitable than you? Liang Shan said secretly on the side. There are already 5 brothers in my family, and I have no idea of recognizing my brother at the moment. Shen Yun looked at the few people with expectant faces and said speechlessly. They all looked quite reliable, but why are they so unreliable at this time? I was joking, Jongmin reacted quickly. Hearing what Shen Yun said, he immediately found a step for himself. Okay, the jokes are over, let's get down to business, Yan Han reminded. Everyone then became serious. This is what happened during the year you left. Most of it is domestic, but there are also things abroad. You can go back and take a look. Yan Han directly handed a thick stack of information to Shen Yun. Shen Yun took it and took a look at it. It was not a trivial matter. I will take a closer look when I get back. These are all things that happened. Now let's talk about the disappearance of the light curtain yesterday, Yan Han said seriously. Shen Yun fell silent for a moment. He knew this, but he couldn't talk about it. There was no sign when this light curtain appeared, and there was no sign when it disappeared. The spiritual energy that emerged over there did not disappear. We can only study it slowly. When he got down to business, everyone became serious. Liang Shan gave his own suggestions. It's true. There have been so many things that cannot be investigated this year. We can only wait for time to pass slowly and see what happens in the future, Jongmin also said at the same time. I agree with both of you, Shen Yun continued. It was hard for her to express her opinion on this matter. She couldn't say that it was the nest of Xiao Banqi. By the way, Shen Yun, the location where you disappeared is near the light curtain. Have you discovered anything? Jongmin suddenly turned to Shen Yun and asked. Shen Yun felt nervous. It seemed that some people had discovered him while flying with his sword. How to say this? Shen Yun glanced at everyone, and now all eyes returned to himself. When I arrived near there, I was sucked into a mysterious space. There were many monsters in there, and their strength was terrifying. Then I fell into a coma, and then came out, Shen Yun said simply, covering up. Suddenly he entered the light curtain. When several people heard that there was a powerful monster inside, their attention immediately turned to it. Even Shen Yun felt that the scary monster could make people unconscious, which was difficult to deal with. Then why didn't these monsters hurt you? Su Qiuqing asked curiously. I really don't know about this. Anyway, I came out as soon as I woke up. Shen Yun directly concealed his experience inside. He believed that a strong monster would be enough to give everyone an early warning. In this way, everyone would work hard to improve their strength, even if they were inside the light curtain. The monster cannot come out, which is also a good thing. Shen Yun even said that he was in a coma. Who knows what these monsters are planning? Maybe they have never seen humanoid creatures before, so they are just curious. Jiang Min was quite open-minded. Anyway, the main task now is to go over there and check if there are any abnormalities. Otherwise, there would be thousands of cultivators over there. How dangerous it would be. The special department is already checking, and there is nothing abnormal at the moment. Yan Han organized people to start the process after the light curtain disappeared yesterday. Then it's probably nothing. We can only wait and see if the light curtain will appear again. Let's study it carefully next time, Shen Yun said easily. Having said that, the others all know how difficult it is. After all, they haven't found anything special in this year. It's like a barrier. No one has ever been seen entering. The only one who is willing to enter the light curtain is Shen Yun. He was still in a coma, so there was no way to talk about this matter. Several people discussed it for a while but couldn't come up with any reason, so they could only separate and go about their own things. As for Shen Yun, give him a week to rest and understand what happened throughout the year, and then come back to work. Shen Yun readily agreed and returned to the courtyard with a thick pile of information. The family has already begun to make lunch happily. Although they have agreed to wait until everyone is here to celebrate, Yang Kankan can't help but want to make something delicious for Shen Yun. I went out to buy a lot of things in the morning, and Shen Yun had already made several items when he got home. Shen Yun wanted to go over to help, but was pushed outside by the rest of the family. You have a good rest, there are so many people at home, how can we use you? By the way, when you disappeared, one of your classmates found where you used to live and said that he had done some business with you and wanted to get something from you. I just remembered this today. Shen Hong pulled Shen Yun straight and said. Oops, I guess the neutralizer in the factory is out of stock, and I don't know what's going on. I'd better contact you and ask. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 257. Chapter 257, 257, Disgrace the Ancestors. Knowing this, Shen Yun couldn't rest. His phone couldn't be used, so he quickly went out and called Aunt Hu. Hearing that Shen Yun was back over there, he stood up excitedly. Without saying anything on the phone, he directly made an appointment with Shen Yun to meet. Shen Yun hung up the phone and sighed. He was wrong in doing this, but he couldn't control the time after entering. He should try to make up for it later. The matter that I had previously thought about finding helpers has to be put on the agenda this time. After all, this business is not my own business, and it also involves charity matters, so that I will not be wasted in that secret realm for several months or years in the future. Dragging people down again. There are currently 6 people in the family including Shen Yun and Xiao Banqi. Shen Yun plans to wait until everyone has arrived, and then ask everyone about their future plans. After all, he has led them on this path, and he cannot half do it. Regardless of the road, there will be more and more people practicing in the future. If you only know how to practice but don't know some attack methods and survival skills, it still won't work. Only Shen Hong and Shen Hong in the family have decided on their future path, and everyone else has to make a decision before building the foundation and start working hard. After having lunch together, Shen Yun originally planned to see how the weapon refining task assigned to Shen Hong was completed when he left, but he heard a knock on the door. Shen Yun knew who was at the door with a glance of his consciousness. He went over and opened the door without anyone else. Hu Yan, why are you here? Shen Yun asked with a smile. My aunt called me and she's coming over now. I'd like to know that you're back safely. It's really worrying to be out for such a long time. Hu Yan looked up and down, looking at Shen Yun's face. Her condition was better than before, and she felt relieved. She didn't know about Shen Yun's disappearance. After learning that Shen Yun was also a cultivator, she thought Shen Yun had gone out to work or gone into seclusion. It's okay, it's just that your aunt's business has been delayed, Shen Yun said a little apologetically. Oh, this is fine. As long as everyone is fine, the business can continue in the future. In addition, you gave me a lot of medicine that time, so use it sparingly. Anyway, there is no shortage of medicinal products, and there are fewer skincare products. My aunt started limited sales, but it lasted for such a long time. In addition, other products researched by the factory also maintain the factory's expenses. My aunt asked me to come over and tell you not to worry. I will talk about other things after I have rested my body. She has already made an appointment with you. She was afraid that you would be anxious, so she specially asked me to come over. Hu Yan said while holding Shen Yun's hand. As long as the stock is not out of stock, no matter what, I didn't think carefully about this matter. This kind of thing will never happen again in the future, Shen Yun said with assurance. Let's sit down and talk first. Shen Yun directly pulled the person towards the room. Let's go, I'm asking for leave today, so I'll stay with you. Hu Yan did not refuse. The two people entered the room. The Shen family were all there. When they saw Hu Yan, they quickly said hello. No introduction is needed, I have been here several times and we all know each other, Hu Yan said with a smile. The family members also nodded. It seemed that Hu Yan had been here many times in the year since she disappeared. The two returned to Shen Yun's room to talk. Hu Yan understood. She didn't ask where Shen Yun had gone. She only asked her how her year was, and then talked about some school matters. In addition, Shen Yun's graduation certificate was also hers. I helped get it delivered. Anyway, the two of them hid in the room and talked all afternoon, leaving one person behind for dinner. I'll take you back. Shen Yun took the initiative to say that it was getting dark after dinner, and he definitely couldn't let her go alone. You should rest at home. I just came back. I can do it by myself, Hu Yan quickly refused. It's better for me to send him off. I'm a man and there's no danger. Before Shen Yun could speak, Shen Hong stood up next to him. Hu Yan did not refuse this time. Watching the two people walk out, Shen Yun glanced around and asked, is there something going on? Maybe, but I am a top student, so I don't know what to do about this matter, Yang Kankan said with a smile. Shen Yun is back, and she is happy to see these things come to fruition. Shen Yun has nothing to do with this matter. Looking at the way the two of them looked just now, it doesn't seem impossible. However, he doesn't need to worry about how it will progress. He, his sister, and his classmates are all adults. Let's fall in love. I don't have the experience to guide them. After chatting with my family for a while, we went back to our rooms to rest. This small courtyard is barely enough for these people now. If people from outside come back, it can be accommodated in a crowded place, but it will probably be a bit difficult to have some private space in the future. Shen Yun was thinking about getting some money or moving to a bigger house to live in. In the future, he would teach his family some skills. He definitely couldn't say that he was in the capital and they would go back to their hometown. Even if you use your hometown as a base, you still need a place to live here. After thinking about it for a while, he put this matter aside. He couldn't do it now. He had no money in his hand. Shen Yun was not willing to exchange the spiritual stones for a house. There were not many spiritual stones on the market now. After thinking for a while, I entered the space directly. An alchemist was still poor. This was considered a disgrace to his ancestors. After picking the spiritual plants, Shen Yun walked into the alchemy room, then the weapon training room. I played with fire in the space all night, and got out 5 foundation building pills and 2 beauty pills, and made 3 5-cubic sized storage bags with the only materials I had. As for what people at home will use, Shen Yun plans to see if he can get some jade to cultivate spiritual jade in space. Then he will directly make some space rings and bracelets, which are much larger than storage bags. Early the next morning, Shen Yun said hello to his family and went out directly with these things. He directly found Zhang Min, whom he had just met yesterday. "Hey, aren't you resting at home? Why are you looking for me when you have time? Do you have something to do?" Zhang Min was really surprised to see Shen Yun. The two were colleagues, but they had never talked in private. "I have something to ask you for help," Shen Yun said with a smile. In his previous life, he knew that the Zhang family was not only a red family, but also a very powerful family in business. They were involved in basically all walks of life. They were a truly wealthy family. So Shen Yun didn't go to anyone else to find out about this matter today. He went directly to the supervisor's office to find Zhang Min. "Tell me what you want, I'll definitely help you if I can." Zhang Min didn't refuse and agreed directly. "I just have a few things that I would like to ask your auction house to sell. I don't know if that's possible." "Of course there is no problem with this. The auction house is open for business. Just wait a moment. I will directly contact my third brother to come over. He is in charge of the auction house's affairs now." Zhang Min did not refuse. It was not suitable for him to participate in this matter. "We can only ask the third brother to come over and talk to Shen Yun." End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 258. Chapter 258, 258, Transaction. When the other party heard that it was a golden elixir cultivator who had something to auction, he directly made an appointment with Shen Yun to meet at the door of the office in 15 minutes. "Thank you very much for this," Shen Yun said gratefully. "I would also like to thank you for supporting our business. By the way, can you tell me what is being auctioned?" After the serious talk was over, Zhang Min relaxed again. "Foundation pill, storage bag, what, are you interested? If this goes into the auction house, the news will definitely spread, and Shen Yun doesn't hide it." "You also put these things up for auction?" Zhang Min was startled. He had never heard of these things anywhere in the country. "Even the few people I have seen build their foundation slowly by relying on their strength. Many people are still practicing Qizogchen and are unable to rise. When you hear this foundation building pill, you can tell that it is not a simple thing. You have to save some capital for your family. In the year I disappeared, my family business was also put down. Although money is not everything, it is absolutely impossible to have no money," Shen Yun said with a smile. "Okay, let's go. I'll take you to the door and wait for my third brother. Let me tell you, this good thing doesn't need to go to the auction house. Our family will take it. Don't worry, the price will definitely not make you suffer. Yes, it also saves you a commission fee," Zhang Min said as he walked. "Okay, let's discuss it with your third brother," Shen Yun nodded. Since the things were sold, she didn't care who the buyer was. As soon as the two people arrived at the door, the person they had agreed to arrived. "Third brother, here we are," Zhang Min greeted happily. Shen Yun saw a young and elegant young man getting out of the car and walking towards this direction. He looked a bit different from the businessman Shen Yun imagined. "This is my third brother Zhang Han, and this is Shen Yun." Zhang Min introduced them directly. "Shen Yun, wait a minute. I have a few words with my third brother." Zhang Min didn't hide anything and spoke directly to Shen Yun. Shen Yun knew what he was going to say and directly made a gesture of invitation. Then Zhang Min pulled the person aside directly under Zhang Han's disapproving eyes. In this way, it is to take down the things in Shen Yun's hand anyway. Although Zhang Han was choked by his brother's unreliable appearance, He also knew that Jiang Min was not an unreliable person when it came to business matters. Although this guy didn't have much talent in business, he had intuition and judgment on cultivation items. Still accurate. Okay, I understand, he responded directly. Then you can't let Shen Yun suffer. Both the Yan family and the Liang family have the energy in this area. They come to me directly because they look down on me, Jiang Min confessed uneasily, which made Zhang Han frown. I have never seen such a narcissistic guy, and he is his own brother. Shen Yun was stunned for a moment when he heard this sentence. Do the Yan family and the Liang family have such a relationship? I really don't know this. For all these years, Yan Han only knows that he has a sister and his parents are very busy. The news about Liangshan is even unclear. They should all be relatively low-key big families. After all, I have just entered this circle. It seems that I will need to know more about these things in the future. Shen Yun was thinking this in his mind, and the two people over there had already finished talking and walked over directly. My third brother wants to talk to you, so I won't accompany you, Jiang Min came over and said. Okay, thank you for today. You're welcome, I'm leaving. Jiang Min waved his hand and walked directly inside. Miss Shen, let's talk somewhere else, Zhang Han said politely. Shen Yun nodded and followed him directly into the car. The two of them went directly to a tea house not far away. Zhang Han should come here often and ask for a private room. I come to this place often, and there is no problem with confidentiality, Zhang Han said in advance. Shen Yun nodded. Anyway, he would use his spiritual sense to keep a distance, so it would not be easy for others to spy even if they wanted to. I wonder if I can take the things out and take a look, Zhang Han said politely. No problem. Shen Yun took out the things directly from his backpack. 5 foundation building pills were put in a bottle, 2 beauty pills were transferred to a bottle, and then there were 3 storage bags. After taking them out, Shen Yun also explained the efficacy and usage. Zhang Han was well informed, and he breathed a lot heavier after hearing Shen Yun's introduction. Ms. Shen, to tell you the truth, Jiang Min meant that our family received these things directly, but I really don't know how to give a price. I'm afraid that the price will be too low, and I will regret the value of these things. In this way, we will auction 1 foundation establishment pill, 2 beauty pills, and 1 storage bag for auction. We will collect the rest according to the auction price. Do you think this is okay? Zhang Han said sincerely. He is a businessman, but now he feels that it is very cost-effective to lose a little profit to make friends with this promising cultivator in front of him. Shen Yun nodded as soon as he heard this arrangement. It was difficult to ask for a price. This was a rarity among cultivators, but ordinary people only had beauty pills that were useful, so the price was really hard to determine. The two of them agreed on this matter and agreed that the good things would go to the auction house in half a month. The matter was settled today. It stands to reason that all the auction items in the past must be handed over to us for safekeeping in advance, but these items are under special circumstances. See if you can help keep them and send them to me a little early on the day of the auction to avoid any mistakes in the process. Jiang Min was very cautious about this matter. Now is different from before. Ordinary security will definitely not work. This thing is attractive enough. Who knows if someone will put themselves in danger? It is better to let a strong person with a golden elixir keep it safer. Okay, tell me when the time is set and I'll go there in advance, Shen Yun responded directly. The two of them reached an agreement and separated directly at the door of the tea house. Looking at the car driving away, Shen Yun turned around and took a look. He just felt someone staring at him. Why did he lose all the time at this moment? He took a closer look. There are no suspicious characters either. Shen Yun stood there for a while and walked directly towards home. As soon as I entered the door, I felt that there was a strange atmosphere in the home. Yun Yun, you're back, someone is looking for you. Shen Hong was waiting in the yard. When he saw Shen Yun coming in, he quickly winked. Who is it? I asked, but my spiritual consciousness poked in. It turned out to be Wang Milan, whom I hadn't seen for a long time. What was she doing here? Did you say anything? Shen Yun continued to ask. As soon as I came here, I pulled my third aunt to talk about how you were when you were a child. It's not easy after so many years. I've missed you so much this year, and my third aunt didn't even know what to say, Shen Hung said in a low voice. None of the family knew how to answer the question. This was the adoptive mother who raised Shen Yun. It would be impossible to just throw her out. However, thinking about the patriarchal treatment Shen Yun received in her home, she felt a little unhappy. Okay, I understand, I'll take care of it. Shen Yun walked directly into the room. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 259. Chapter 259, 259, they are all those who have no profit and cannot afford to be early. Wang Milan is holding Yang Cancan's hand tightly. The people at home next to her, except Shen Hung outside, are all sitting here to accompany her. I heard that you missed me and I'm back, Shen Yun said, standing at the door. Wang Milan let go of Yang Cancan's hand when she heard a familiar voice. Yun Yun, it's been more than a year. I heard that you don't know where you are going. I feel anxious at home every day. You also know that I have been a housewife all my life and have no connections. I can only drag my family to help. I have been looking for you, and now that I see you coming back safely, I finally feel relieved. Wang Milan seemed to have forgotten what happened before and walked directly towards Shen Yun. His facial expression seemed to reveal his true feelings. If he hadn't introduced himself to Lu, I would have believed him. Thank you for your concern. I have nothing to do. It's almost dinner time. My family is poor, so I won't let you eat. I guess you don't like our food either. As soon as these words came out, the emotional Wang Milan played opposite seemed to be choked. This kid, what I'm saying is, what kind of person am I? We've been living together for so long and we still don't understand. I know how to joke. Let me tell you, girl, this kid has had this temper since he was a child. He didn't like to talk before, but now she chokes when she speaks. Please be more considerate. She is the only one among the 3 children in the family. Do you think I can stop hurting her? Wang Milan looked at Shen Yun and turned directly to Yang Cancan next to her. Yang Cancan felt a little uncomfortable after hearing this. How could she not understand Shen Yun's temperament for such a long time? This child is not an ungrateful person, and she always remembers the kindness she received from others. If you say this to your adoptive mother at this meeting, you will definitely have a bad life in the G family. Think about the 2 boys in the G family. If the parents are patriarchal, the life of the child will be really difficult. We all love our children the same way. I have raised Momo for so many years. Although my family's conditions are not good, I still hold the child in my hands and grow up. In our whole family, Momo is just a girl. In a family that values boys over girls, Momo has never let him wash clothes or cook meals, Yang Cancan said, and remembered Shen Yun's skillful way of working. If he hadn't been doing this since he was a child, how could he be like this? Wang Milan felt embarrassed when she was told that, and glanced at Shen Yun unnaturally. This girl was really not well raised. Although the family valued boys, they did not lack food for her. She did not expect that such a thing would be related to her country mother. He said that he really had little knowledge. Hey, the situation in this family is different. Now that the 2 children have returned to their own home, I will treat Momo well so as not to worry you, and I will leave them to your family to take care of them from now on. I came here today with a shameless request. I wonder if you can agree to it, sister. Since it's shameless, then don't say it. After all, our family is poor and we can't meet your request, Shen Yun said politely. It was because he knew the other person's character that he didn't give in. Otherwise, he would just go along with it. The pole has climbed. After all, this person can really let go when he puts down his dignity. If she can come here today, Shen Yun probably doesn't mean it by herself. She has never seen this person since she ignored her about the surname Liu. She had only met Ji Shen and Ji Momo a few times, and it had been more than a year. If the Ji family hadn't asked her to come over, Shen Yun would have written her name upside down today. Look at this child, Wang Milan adjusted herself now. When Shen Yun said this, she immediately looked helpless. We old sisters are not as knowledgeable as children. Let's talk about it. I have always wanted to visit Baiyun village. But the family has been unable to leave. The child Momo has just returned to Beijing and is not used to anything. His father can't take care of such a big girl. I am taking care of her. This time is wasted. I didn't expect you to come to Beijing to compare notes. I know you are probably thinking about Momo too. I just thought that the two families would interact as relatives in the future. Momo is studying today. I will bring her over to see her in 2 days. Wang Milan stopped talking about Shen Yun and directly talked about Ji Momo. Although Yang Can also heard Shen Liman talk about Ji Momo's attitude towards her family, after all, she had raised a child for more than 10 years, and she still had a soft spot for this child in her heart. At this moment, she looked at Shen Yun a little uneasily. One glance. Shen Yun sighed, that's how people are. Although he didn't say it, he felt that this matter was really difficult to control. He knew what the Ji family did to him, and Ji Momo had a big problem with the Shen family. That doesn't count. Looking down on poor parents, something like this happens to their biological children, let alone their adopted ones. Shen Yun can't force Yang Can to do anything, it can only be up to them. If you want to meet, you can go over and meet. As for me, that's not necessary. I don't want to have anything to do with the Ji family. After saying that, Shen Yun walked directly to his room. Several cousins looked at each other when they saw the development direction of the matter, leaving Shen Chen to watch as nothing happened, and the others followed Shen Yun. Yun, don't be angry. We are all on your side. No matter what the other party says, we have known Momo's character before, so the third uncle and the third aunt regard her as a treasure. Don't worry, the third aunt is just temporarily soft-hearted. If you don't see him for a long time, you will inevitably forget the bad side. When you meet this person, you will know that his true nature is hard to change. It is estimated that what he will get is cynicism, and the third aunt will give up. A few people were afraid. Shen Yun was sad and quickly came over to comfort him. Don't worry, I won't be angry over this trivial matter. I'm just wondering what the other party's plans are. The two brothers from the Ji family wanted to come over and have a relationship with me before. They are both unprofitable and can't afford to be early. You guys, everyone outside, please be careful. Our exercises and body refining techniques will be taught to you in the future. From now on, they will be heirloom treasures of our Shen family. The future structure will definitely not always be so harmonious. Once this person gains strength, something will happen. In the future, there will be many forces from all sides. This is the Shen family, which is the foundation of your world. Chen Yun looked at everyone and said seriously. When everyone heard this, they immediately wondered if the other party was here to deal with these things from the Shen family. Shen Hong and the others said that Yun was good at refining weapons and elixirs. They were here to build relationships, and they wanted to take Yun back. A few people looked at each other and immediately seemed to have made some kind of decision. Now that this sister is so good, Momo must not be replaced. Besides, Yun is their biological sister. No one will agree to this. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 260. Chapter 260, 260, Refining the Space Ring. Second brother, you go home tomorrow and see how the old man and the old lady at home are doing. Shen Hung, who followed, winked at Shen Mu. Okay, I'll go back tomorrow. Shen Mu immediately agreed. He knew what he meant and directly brought the two old people at home over. Even if the third uncle and the third aunt wanted to meet someone, they would not come to the house to meet them. Okay, you can do whatever you want. By the way, since you want to go back, then let a few people go over and bring Shen Jian over. I will make an appointment with the doctor tomorrow and go directly to see Shen Jian. Chen Yun knew what they meant. Since they were all protecting him, he would follow them this time. As for what Yang Kankan will do, although she has only been out for a year, she is not someone who can't figure it out. She may only be emotional for this moment, and she can figure it out after a while. We have been busy in Beijing this year, and we really haven't thought about this. We want to bring Shen Jian here to have a look. Maybe he will wake up early. Several people nearby heard Shen Yun say this, and they were a little annoyed. I was only thinking about Shen Yun and forgot about this matter. Even if we bring Shen Jian here, we don't know anyone and can't find a good doctor. This is a wild card. Shen Hung understood clearly that when he was in the south, he relied on connections, so there were so many people. Show it to Shen Jian, and it was Shen Yun who sent him home later because of his connections. Even if they brought Shen Jian here this year, they could only send him to the hospital to see an ordinary doctor. If he wanted a good doctor, it still requires some relationship. That's true. In the year after I came out, no one was the same young man who was in the country at that time. I have gained a lot of experience by running around. Then let's go out and call home to tell them to clean up. Several people didn't stop writing and immediately started to separate. Fourth brother, they're all gone, why don't you go out? The room was quiet for a while, and Shen Yun turned around and glanced at Xiao Benqi, who was sleeping soundly on the bed, and then at Shen Hung, who was sitting motionless next to him. Mushrooms are growing in your room. Everyone has gone out to work. Isn't it a bit lazy for you to stay here? I'm not just idle. Let's see when you have time to work. Look at my burned jade. Shen Hung looked at Shen Yun and saw that there was no sad expression on his face, so he smiled and put his things are said. I was about to say this, but I was delayed again. Please bring the things over and let me take a look. Shen Yun responded accordingly. Shen Hung immediately went back to the room and took the things he had cherished for so long. Look, I have been calcining and polishing them with spiritual energy during my free time this year. What do you think? Shen Hung. As he spoke, he handed the things over. As long as the iron pestle is ground into a needle, I originally thought of getting some jade and putting it in the space to soak it into spiritual jade, but the one in front of me was directly polished into spiritual jade by my fourth brother. Chen Yun took a closer look. The quality of the jade itself was very good. In addition, after a long period of refining, the impurities inside were basically gone. Shen Hung was using spiritual energy to nourish himself when he was not doing anything. Now the jade is exuding the gleaming white light is no longer ordinary. Fourth brother, you are so patient, this has become a good thing. Today I will teach you how to refine something. If you master this, you don't have to worry about money. What? Tell me. I will definitely study hard. Shen Hung heard Shen Yun's affirmation and was immediately overjoyed. Have you heard about mustard seed space? I will teach you today. Watch it carefully. As soon as he finished speaking, Shen Yun directly set a ban on the room, and then began to divide the spiritual jade. She plans to use this spiritual jade to make several space rings. Although the space is not as large as the bracelets, it saves materials. Let's refine the jade into a ring first. Chen Yun took one and started working on it. This step was a little more complicated than removing impurities, and it also consumed a lot of spiritual energy, and he couldn't stop in the middle. Shen Hong watched from the side and did not start rashly. There was not much material, and he could only make 3. He would feel bad if he tried to break it. Shen Yun's speed is very fast. He has been promoted to the middle stage of Jindan, and his spiritual consciousness has also grown accordingly. Coupled with the purification of his bloodline, Shen Yun is now smoother with his spiritual consciousness than with his hands. 3 simple ring shapes are ready in just a moment. The movements in the hands are non-stop, and the next step is the key step. The complex formation must be engraved on it, so that this space ring can be completed. I have simply used the formation when making storage bags before, and I am familiar with it. Even carving the small ring is a little more difficult than the top of the storage bag, but this is not a problem for Shen Yun. Shen Hong saw a ring floating in the air. After a while, a complex pattern appeared in front of Shen Yun. Then with a gesture, the pattern flew directly towards the ring. Then the pattern shrank and disappeared. The originally extraordinary jade ring, it will look like an ordinary ring, nothing special. Shen Yun then made a few more gestures before stopping what he was doing, and the ring slowly floated down. Put some blood on it and try to identify the owner. Shen Yun checked it out and found that the space inside was not big, but there were about 10 cubes. He threw the ring to Shen Hong aside. Shen Hong took it hurriedly. Is this done? Shen Yun nodded. Try it, let's move on to the next one. Without saying a word, Shen Hong directly used spiritual energy to make a cut on his finger, and smeared the blood on the ring as if it was free of money. A faint light flashed, the wound disappeared, and the blood on the jade slip also disappeared. Shen Hengli felt that he was connected to a medium-sized space in his mind. He tentatively picked up the cup on the table. With a thought, the cup it disappeared directly and appeared in space. Shen Hong immediately jumped up and down with joy. If he hadn't accidentally seen the child sleeping on the bed, he would have screamed with joy. After trying a few more things, Shen Hong stopped his movements and said, "Is this mine?" "Of course, keep it well and don't leak the wealth." "This is still a rarity outside," Shen Yun explained and continued to the next one. Originally, Shen Hong wanted to go out and talk to his brothers. When he saw Shen Yun's actions, he immediately put the ring away carefully and watched Shen Yun's actions more seriously. After all 3 were refined, Shen Hong rubbed his eyes and smiled bitterly. "I understand the rest, but this formation is a bit difficult. Can you draw it for me to see?" "Okay." Shen Yun took out the pen and paper and started drawing. The sequence of steps was clearly listed. "Watch it for yourself, don't show it to others for now, but it's useless to see this. You also need to prepare the corresponding techniques and learn them quickly. Everyone in the family will be assigned one by then, otherwise there will be no way to distinguish between these 3 by the way." Shen Yun also wound up Shen Hong. "Don't worry, I will definitely study hard." Shen Hong happily took it and without saying a word, he put it into the space he had just obtained. End of this chapter.